hear that?
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, absolutely. Because I lived in that era. Do you know what it is?
You're not that much older than me,
Okay.
fucker.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you guys recognize this sound, but that's the sound literally going online in the late 90s, connecting you to the internet.
Good old dial-up.
Yes, a dial-up sound, connecting your computer through a modem, through the phone, the basically telephone line. That's why we used to hear this dial-up sound.
Before we had separate lines for all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have the infrastructure to support it.
Right.
It's like we saw a ghost.
Right. But anyway, today's topic is technology, right?
Technology. Love it.
Technology.
Hate it.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Where do we start? I mean, there's so much to talk about, in my opinion, because we used to work in this industry, semiconductor industry, which is probably at the forefront of technological achievement today.
Absolutely. You don't have much without microprocessors, memory, and all the various components typically associated with semiconductor and our industry.
One of the most essential industries today.
How about we start with defining technology?
Technology.
That's kind of fun. So I think a lot of people maybe have a varied or loose definition of what technology is.
Yeah, now I am. Okay. Then I wasn't sorry.
Here we go again. Take 2. Back in the frame. So, speaking about technology and the definition of it, I think a lot of people have varying definitions, maybe a loosely defined definition of technology. So we'd say, like, this microphone is technology, for example. So is the computer. But how would you define it?
I would describe as the resulting products or services of scientific achievements. That's how I would define it. Yeah.
I think so too. I'd go one step further and say that technology is anything man creates to a system to solve any problem. So in that regard,
similar to engineering.
Yeah, engineering, right? To get to the heart of the matter. But you could say at one point in time, this cup right here, this was technology.
Right.
You know, this was the height of technology, was a container to hold a liquid, more than likely water. But now we don't think of a cup as technology because we've had it for so long. So typically technology, I believe, is referring to, or in popular mind, is the most current product to solve issues.
Right.
So the cup is no longer technology. But let's go even further back. Let's go to the start as far as technology be concerned to the modern era. Okay. So probably something like the revolutionary period. I think there were some things you were mentioning about that earlier.
Did I? Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, what I meant to say is that, you know, I mean, there are a lot of byproducts of technology, but I think it's interesting to look at how these technological advancements, you know, have taken place from the very beginning. Very beginning as in, I'm not talking about, 2,000 years ago. I mean, it's probably interesting to talk about those times as well. But most relevant time, I think we can go back to late 18th century, where when the first industrial revolution started, right? Why are you looking at me like that?
I wasn't around for the the Industrial Revolution. So.
Right. I mean, okay, so I think, we can talk about, there's a lot of interesting things, right? So the first Industrial Revolution obviously can be characterized as a couple of words, which is mechanization and steam engine, right? I mean, that's a big one, which later gave way to the invention of internal combustion engine. But that's like after the second Industrial Revolution.
Progressive.
Right. But the point is, though, that through the first Industrial Revolution, we could actually we started to replace agriculture with the industry as the backbone of the society and economy, right? Obviously, we increased the productivity of manufacturing as well, right?
Dramatically.
Yes, steamboat, locomotive.
Cotton gin,
Yeah, I mean there are so
all these
many
other
things that
things.
actually changed the ways of living entirely. That's why it is a powerful, force. But yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this. This part of the history.
So essentially, the technology that was discovered, created, and how it's kind of led to today has had a huge impact on cultural evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
Absolutely.
one of the small thing it touches. It changes the way we interact with people. I mean, people right now are listening to us from tons of different devices. Potentially they're on their phone, maybe they're on a laptop, maybe it's coming through a broadcasting system, a radio, or something of that nature. Has had a huge impact on everyday life for men, women, and children. And a lot of people would say that technology has made our lives better. I wouldn't necessarily 100% agree with that. I would at least take a step back and say it's made our lives different. And you can't argue better in a lot of ways as far as medicine's concerned and how far we've come along with that. That's a huge benefit. But I think technology fails to meet the elementary problem or the fundamental problem of being human. And these machines only serve purposes to try and reduce the impact of what it is to be human and all the negatives that come with it. Because no matter how far we've come, historically and technologically speaking, we still have problems. Do you think technology can ever truly solve these problems?
Not entirely, right? A lot of realistic problems can be solved, but largely, what makes human beings so unique cannot be. I don't know. This is really premature to say, but I think so far it's hard to say that it's going to have an impact on basically human nature, right? I don't think so. Maybe it'll come. But as of today and the predictions in the future we can foresee, I don't think that's going to come anytime soon.
You don't think we're having a real change to our lives as humans with technology yet?
I mean, a lot of changes have happened. I'm just saying that no technology yet that I can foresee will be able to alter or give very different force to the change of human nature.
I see what you're saying. So you're basically saying you don't think technology can solve all the problems of being human. I would definitely agree. I'd say if it could solve it, it probably changes from being human to something else. Since a lot of our struggle, pain, glory, all these emotions wrapped up kind of define us as humans. And that human experience without those things may be something entirely different.
Yeah, and then I think it's almost inevitable that as the society or the government system grow to be more complex, and the economy grows, it's almost impossible to not to exploit people within the system. You know?
When you're talking about exploitation, are you saying taking advantage of people that are creating?
Yeah, you can say that in a way that is taking advantage of them, right? Because, we've talked about this. I mean, this is not exactly technology, but, I mean, sort of you can say that. When we talked about 2 episodes ago about fitness industry, all those, supplements could be beneficial, but a lot of them are just, whatever, right? Those are not really valuable or have a huge impact on, fitness itself, but they exist.
And there's a market and people still buy
exactly.
it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Similar to the supplement industry, then you're saying the technology industry that maybe the technology they're selling and promoting actually doesn't have any huge impact in life value,
Yeah.
or it's not going to be a huge benefit to our lives,
Mhm.
but it's marketed in such a way that we don't even think to question, will this technology actually be helpful for me?
Yeah.
Because same thing with similar for the supplement. Maybe I can get this via my diet, So something, for example, let's say a cell phone, maybe you could still have those personal relationships without the need of a cell phone, with calling people, texting. Sure, it'd be way more difficult because you'd have to do it all in person or via writing, but I think you'd still have success. So without maybe examining the reason you're buying the technology and the purpose, you might be missing out on something entirely. Or you might be being tricked into slavery to some degree. Not to use that word too lightly, because I know it has a lot of undertones and historical context, but for all intents and purpose, you could be slave to an ideology, which in this case would be technology being extremely valuable and adds value to your life, when in reality it could be harming you. There's probably hasn't been too many long-term studies done with technology because it grows so rapidly, and you need so much data, amount of years, and all that to actually arrive to a reasonable conclusion about what it means.
I think the best we can do is really be conscious of the impact of the technology in your life. I think the best we can do, because obviously, there's so much control that we can exert, because technology and everything is so embedded into our system. It's impossible to ignore them as you live unless you be a caveman, right? So to a certain degree, it's inevitable. I think that's why I think the best thing we can do is being conscious of it, being critical of what the values of technology, and use it as our advantage, right? I mean, that effort is pretty much the best thing we can do, but we cannot be completely detached from the technology or current science or current knowledge, whatever you want to call it, right? As long as we are within the system, we are under the influence of the system.
Absolutely. So obviously there's remote tribes out there, and there's people that live in different countries that don't have technology to the degree that we have it here in the U.S., for example, or a first world country. I imagine, though, if you went and showed these people a lot of these things, especially probably older generations, say somebody who's reached our age, our level of maturity, they probably wouldn't want to integrate the technology because it would be such a different life and lifestyle. It would be completely alien, foreign, and almost oppressive to them. So do you think that technology, even though with all the goods and, like you mentioned, the inevitability of it, can it oppress people?
Even to those who have no idea of those technology?
Yeah.
I probably to them is they appear to be just alien to them, but I don't think they would they can really take any meaning out of it because they don't have any understanding of it. We can try to explain it to them, but they won't really know the values of it. I don't think that's possible. I mean, even to us, when we encounter this new technology, pieces of new technology, we don't usually get a true idea of what the technology can do. We don't, right? I mean, I gotta be honest, when iPhone came out for the first time, I thought that's silly because it just didn't seem like, don't get me wrong, the design was great and what it could do, I mean, it just looked elegant, but I just thought that, well, this is just, I don't know what kind of difference this can make, but I mean, it changed the entire course of, electronics industry, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, even to us, it's kind of hard to recognize the value of new technology sometimes. I'm not saying I was that way, therefore everybody's like that, but in comparison, like those who have no idea or less knowledge of technology, it'll be hard for them to understand the true value of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've given an example of somewhere where you're on the other side of the fence where you thought, this is kind of silly. What's the point in this? can you think of another example where you're on the opposite, where you thought like, oh man, this is pretty cool, it's pretty neat, but at the end, maybe it's a kind of a useless bit of technology. Like, what's the purpose in this really? This was just made to sell units, essentially. Is there anything that like immediately comes to mind that's just kind of burdensome that people have adopted for seemingly no reason?
Man, I really can't think of an example, but I'm sure there have been, right?
No, there has to be.
Right.
I mean, I could think of a lot that people don't buy immediately.
What about you? Yeah.
I mean, so there's nothing that I've necessarily purchased where I've been on that side. But something that immediately comes to mind is the belt that vibrates and shakes. And, you're going to get a 6-pack when you wear this belt.
Yeah.
This is all you have to do, which is silly, but it sells.
Yeah.
It absolutely sells.
Right.
So one more thing is, for me, I've just recently gotten back on social media. Didn't have it for a long time.
Yeah.
It was something that I have because I think I need to have it, and there's value in it.
Yeah.
But my preference and my overall opinion of it is that it's probably mostly negative.
Yeah.
Mainly because of it just shortcuts relationships and changes them in a way that I don't find as valuable. But everybody's on it, and you're forced to comply to some degree. You don't necessarily have to be 100% involved in social media, but I think a lot of people have fallen to the trap that this is human relationship, and it's done through these apps, through this phone, through this technology, which I have a bit of a different experience. It can be.
Yeah.
It's a tool. If it's used responsibly, it can be very effective, very rewarding. But I also think there's some tools you don't give people without proper training. I mean, in the industry we were in, you're not going to go open a gas line or do some type of work or use a specific tool unless you're thoroughly trained. Because you'll be at risk not only for others, but also yourself and potentially, the product. And I think that's one thing that we haven't caught up with in technology yet is the potential dangers associated with them.
Yeah, I think, just like any other technology, a lot of them, the problem of technology, I'm not saying everything is this way, but dominantly, the value of it can only be realized through their terms. That's the problem of it. We don't have any choice. So, for example, you talked about social media. Its value only increases or can be realized in proportion of the time that you put into the social media, right? So you don't have any choice but spend a lot of time on it to get any value of it. So this is what I'm talking about when we talked about Herbert Marcuse's one-dimensional man, the totalitarian system, society. Like, the values are not created for you. It's for them, typically. And more so, how it is realized, how it is, used in the society is, basically determined by their terms.
Sure.
So that's my beef. That's why I don't like, at least I'm conscious of it. That's what I'm saying, and then everyone should be.
Yeah. I think being conscious of anything changes directly how you interact with it.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
With how you interact with the world. This is why we value education and learning so highly. It can make things much more complex, in-depth, and beautiful than they were previously. But it can also alert you to the potential dangers of something.
Yeah.
And when you mention the values are essentially
probably close,
forced down or pushed down our throats, we're not saying that this is like a specific group of people or specific individuals.
Yeah.
This is a byproduct of any collective, a system. This is a byproduct of culture, history, and everything working together to form this narrative and these values, which we just blindly follow and consider the correct way,
Right.
This is the correct path to get to, in most cases in the U.S., it's happiness or the illusion of happiness.
Yeah, they're all, values exist on the surface by the marketing, all of them. I admit that there are a lot of advantages of technology, and then we should take advantage of them for sure to enrich our life. But that's about it. We shouldn't be shackled to those technology just because that's how we get the value out of it.
You're right. And there's one other thing to really be aware of for anybody out there listening is that technology, because most people are behind it and agree with it, it can be used in a way to shift your opinion or your belief on other things outside of technology. So, for example, we were talking about there's this perception that a lot of semiconductor is being outsourced to China.
Right.
This is a common perception. And while some of that is true, it vastly underestimates the reality. We came from this industry, so we know that it's multifaceted. It's more than there's outsourcing to China. It's that the technology that we have is growing so rapidly, and the demand is so high that we can't even keep up with it. It's not that necessarily China is stealing all the resources from us and that they're going to be the number one competitor, which could happen if they have the technology because they have the means. But people are well paid in our industry. It's not that we can't find good labor necessarily.
Right.
It's just that the manufacturing costs have gotten so low, and so the margins on selling these things are so thin that we have to produce more and more, and the demand increases, and then the newest chip comes out. So somebody could say to you, oh, China's taking all our jobs, our engineering jobs, semiconductor. Well, it's technology that's valuable. It's important. Oh, if China's trying to do that, they're wrong. There's something bad about them. Or, replace China with any other country. Replace it with anything. So we have to be careful when we automatically assume technology is extremely valuable. Right? So we shouldn't be boxed away. So avoid this totalitarianism perspective as somebody who might put an extreme value on technology. Understand it's a little more complex. And that you shouldn't just buy into it and think immediately it's a good thing because it's technology or technology advances. There's some real things we should look at and be worried about the way technology is advancing. I mean, I think there's a huge concern with AI.
Yeah.
And the potential impact that's going to have on society and human structure, especially when people are talking about these companies that can pull all your information and then maybe assign you a certain credit score, or sorry, not credit score, but basically a value that you're worth based off all this large amount of data. So there's, one potential negative impact. So, it's good to have a balanced perspective that not all technology is good. Technology is not inherently a good thing. It's just essentially a tool that can be misused or used properly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the essence of technology or new inventions could be, like you said, could have both sides, right? I mean, it can be used well, it can be used really negatively. Like dynamite, for example, it was a good creation, right? But also it was used for, in a destructive way. And we can come up with, numerous examples like that. And, one thing that when you were talking about semiconductor industry, we just wanted to point that out because it's just, yes, Chinese has taken a lot of manufacturing needs from us for sure, or manufacturing industry, but semiconductor doesn't really fall into the same category because the manufacturing, most of them by China, is based on cheap labor, and semiconductor is simply not, that's not the case. And to begin with, China really doesn't produce a meaningful amount of chips. They don't.
Of current technology, for sure.
Not yet. They have a lot of money, so maybe they can pull off something. Maybe they can, even start by buying the best company in the world, which is TSMC, right? Who knows? They have so much money so that they have a lot of options. But we just wanted to point that out. They're not the same thing, basically.
Yeah, it's common
Misconception
related to the field in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we typically, people that hear that or hear these things just trust the people saying it as experts. But it's why it's super important to go and kind of validate what you read or what you hear, because ultimately a lot of people, whether intentionally or unintentionally, are angling to communicate their ideology, and they want you to buy into it.
Yeah.
Again, this is just a byproduct of, I think, a system and having an ideology. That's small scale, where it's a singular individual doing it, whereas large scale could be an entire culture, country having a similar mindset. So it's just something to, I think, be aware of. But we've said a lot of negatives, I think, about technology. Some of the good things, me personally, I love is I can listen to music anywhere.
True. Yeah.
That's a huge
big one. And if you think about it, it's interesting that, was that 2 decades ago when Apple launched the iPod? I should have checked the year, but something like that, right?
2003. I think that was 2005.
Was it?
I think around there.
Right. Yeah, but anyway, even from that point, music industry has changed a lot, right?
Drastically. It was all about selling records. Now it's all about
Yes.
getting those clicks and those downloads and being on
Yes. I mean, there were times
major
when
producers.
I was so excited to go to a record shop to buy a new album, like those were the days, right? I mean, it was so different. But now it's just few clicks, right? And I'm pretty sure not a lot of people buy entire albums these days, right?
Oh man, does anybody
Probably
even
not.
buy music anymore? I think we all just rent it on Spotify,
Subscription,
Apple, and
yeah.
I can't tell you the last time I bought something. It's been probably a year or two. Usually somebody, one of my favorite, Brian Fallon, Gaslight Anthem, they release something, I'll pre-purchase it in order and get it on vinyl just to have it, even though I only listen to the digital.
Right.
Just to have an appreciation because, again,
like personal values, right?
Yeah, we've been there. I've used a record player. I remember even when going and buying CDs or cassettes. That's cool too.
Yeah.
I snuck through the cassette era, but I remember very vividly the first few CDs I had, first vinyl, and I think those are real valuable things.
Yeah.
But maybe we're being dogmatic and a bit old in our ways. Maybe those are only valuable because we had the experience attached to them.
Yeah.
So now we're looking down on these.
To a degree, that is true, right?
These other ways to get.
Yeah.
But I think the value that we found in those is it's kind of difficult. You kind of have to go out of your way to go find the album you want. They may not have it, or you may run into something entirely different. Say you go to the record store, they don't got the CD you want. They don't got the vinyl you want.
True. Yeah.
But you want to list something. So you're like, oh, you know what? I'll get something new. You ask the guy, hey man, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
Oh, I got this one for you. It sounds very similar. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And you check them out, and you get this huge experience of where you had human interaction. You had to drive there, or you had to walk there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of effort that went
Right.
into it that kind of maybe ascribed more value on this thing.
Yeah.
That
for sure.
It's now I just search it and click it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, but it's not like meaningful to me.
Yeah, like the efforts of your part is pretty much gone now, right? Like you said, back then we had to take a bus or drive to the shop and have to select it, pay for it. There were a lot of in between steps to do it, but today you don't have to. I mean, that's just true. I'm not on this point particularly, I'm not saying which is better, but it is true though. The amount of effort that you have to put to gain the product is just dramatically less today than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something we've really been able to quantify in a study. I'm sure there's studies done about fulfillment and what we perceive to be fulfillment. There's probably someone that feels more fulfilled doing it the way we've done.
Yeah.
Where I'm sure there's other studies that show most people just feel aggravate and frustrated by having to go through that experience.
Right.
But I also don't think being aggravated and frustrated and kind of having some bumps along the road, so to speak, is a negative thing. I think that just changes the way you view that event, especially after time has passed. I mean, the things I value most in my life personally have been some of the most difficult parts of my life, not the simple laid back chill moments.
True.
And so that's one worry I have about technology. The further it removes us from the human element of pain, the less human we become in some way. I feel like we're losing a little bit of that human nature side. And again, maybe this is part of the evolution of man, and technology is the necessary step. But
yeah, I mean,
nervous.
it's hard to say that the progression that we're making is toward, destruction or negative part. But we really can't say that yet, right? Also, we talk a lot about the current generations, right? That, they don't have social skills, and there are so many things that we talk of them negatively. But maybe that's just part of the, evolution. Maybe they will be better than us.
Yeah.
Right?
They'll be definitely better in different ways. We excel in certain ways, and they'll excel in different ways because our paths are so different.
Yeah.
Right? All those experiences accumulate to a different final product. So I guess in that way, it's kind of good that we don't live forever and we die. Otherwise, we we'd never want change, probably. We'd probably want things to remain the same forever. And again, that's one of the benefits of technology. And I don't know how much control we have large scale, but I know we can make a lot of changes in our day-to-day life. And again, going back to examining the technology we use, does it really add benefit in your life? You should pay close attention to it and see if it does.
Right.
For example, I mean, we've seen people that watch TV. I don't think it happens very much anymore, but you remember TV ads all the time. How much time did you waste watching a TV ad? Especially if you're trying to watch a movie. Might as well have been half ads, half movie. An absurd amount of time wasted.
Yes.
But somebody might say, oh, this is technology. I can actually watch TV. But they don't realize, oh, man, they've snuck in all these ads, or maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I'm wasting my time here. Maybe there's a more effective way to do this. Maybe I'm wasting my entire day playing a video game all day when I could go outside and do something that's beneficial for my health or otherwise, or whatever reason. But unless we take the time to actually examine why we're using technology, no matter what it is, TV, phone, internet, computer, then still might be some stuff on the table. We might be harming ourselves.
Yeah.
Or just not using it to its full advantage. We could be using our phones more effectively. We could be using the internet more effectively, learning, or whatever aligns with our values, how we want to be in life, or the people we want to become, and working towards it.
Yeah. And speaking of a good thing, my favorite thing of all time is probably, I gotta say, espresso.
Espresso.
Yes. All the 20th century, right? After the first Industrial Revolution. Italian, I don't know, I forgot the gentleman's name, but there were several iterations of advancement, but eventually by 3 or 4 different people to make the espresso machine that we know today. Without the first Industrial Revolution, we wouldn't have had espresso machine today, So I appreciate that a lot.
It's a game changer. I imagine
for sure.
The espressos have fed the creation of a lot more technology.
Yeah, really the funny thing is that the first Industrial Revolution really increased the productivity of the entire society, right? So to people, people adapt to things, right? And to them, this brewing coffee time just suddenly appeared to be so long, right? Because everything else is so, pacing up, but the coffee brewing process remains the same. I think there was sort of the motivation that I want to make coffee faster, just like anything else, right?
You got a real addiction problem,
Right. So I think, the one invention really, creates opportunities for other inventions, right?
Oh, absolutely. Or you see
so
ways that you can improve in one area that is totally applicable to other things.
Yeah.
I mean, our industry, we know about this 5S. right? Japanese term about organizations, how you place everything essentially to make your workflow the most effective.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one technological improvement that I believe started in the car industry, right? I
Yes.
think it was Toyota.
Toyota.
Yes. So we've adopted it and it's had a huge impact.
Pretty
And
much all
these
manufacturing facilities have adopted
and that means, the faster we can produce the newest technology, we can then start incorporating that technology in our manufacturing process to make better stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one crazy thing to me that still feels like magic today is that we use lower technology to make better technology. It seems mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But you're telling me something that's shittier than that is going to make something better? It's like, wait, what? How does that work? How does something that's crappier make something better? Blows my mind all the time, but it's true. It works all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, it's really interesting to know that all those, technological advancements, in this case, industrial revolutions, really the sector that has benefited the most was always manufacturing. The first revolution, you see the mechanization, therefore the increased productivity of manufacturing. And the second revolution, the widespread electrification, better manufacturing process, therefore, the birth of Ford, the mass production, which really changed the world. And also third revolution, which is basically nuclear energy and computers, really, which enabled automation of manufacturing. If you really look at them, that's really interesting to me that, of course, we had all sorts of, different inventions that you can see, but I think most benefited part of the society was always manufacturing, which accelerated economy, right? So it's really, they're not separable.
Yeah. I mean, you can't separate it. It's kind of a bummer if you look back into, I believe, 60s and the 70s when manufacturing was probably at a peak. It's probably even increased way more by now. But one of the things they predicted is, by our time, that there would be complete automation of everything. No labor needed.
That'll be the change of the result of the current revolution, right? The complete smart factory, right? So everything's automated, independent, machine learning and AI. Basically, the manufacturing facility can function on its own without human beings, right? That's, the way it's headed.
Yeah. To get a little bit off topic, but similar to what I was saying is that people thought that we'd already be in that situation where we wouldn't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
Because, machines are doing so much of the labor. Right. And again, that would have actually worked. That could have been a real possibility. But, again, a little off topic here, that's not how it went because we live in a capitalistic society where the highest value is capital and, profit margins, things of that nature. Making more money is the highest value. So the manufacturing process was never about getting more people free time and not having to work while having money. So even if we get closer to smart factories and things like that, as long as it remains under this paradigm, labor will only continue to increase. And the requirement, it'll change. Maybe we won't be working in the factories, but somebody's got to fix those robots. You and I know that.
Right.
We're the assholes fixing those robots sometimes.
Yeah.
The engineers solving the problems. So I feel like it's one of the lies that we get told is that, technology is going to solve the human crisis of discontent and unhappiness. Think of all the free time you're going to have. Spend more time with your families. Be more connected. Facebook.
Right.
And all these things. But guess what? You realize I'm even less connected than I have been before. I don't feel like I actually have real relationships with people. Oh man, I go to work and I'm in this assembly line. What is the purpose and meaning of my life? Yet we have all this technology, but we still feel empty. Yeah. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board in some things, how we get more fulfillment out of the technology.
Yeah. I think it really goes back to the idea of creating your own values, at least, assessing your life to find the values, right? I think that's the most critical part. You know, the technology and all those things can be beneficial if you use them as your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot be slave to them.
Mm.
I mean,
I think a lot of people would disagree with you because they're slaves to it right now. I'm giving you a hard time. Yeah, you shouldn't be a slave to it, right? It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that slavery oftentimes, if not all the time, implies no choice of the matter. But because we have a choice in the matter, if we examine it, then we won't be a slave. Just by examining it. The second you make a choice, whether it's yes, I'm going to continue using it, or no, or any variation on the spectrum of those, you're no longer a slave. So we're not saying technology bad. We're not saying, hey, Instagram, social media, your phone, and all these things are bad. They're only potentially bad if you're not examining them. Why?
Yeah.
That's the only time you're a slave, is when you don't know why you do something.
Yeah,
or,
for sure.
Like a zombie, like we've talked about a few episodes back. Someone who's just on autopilot. They're not running their life.
Yeah.
They're just a vehicle. That's no way to live.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about it earlier, ordinary people, or I should say more than 90% of the entire population, have hard time to even recognize the value of new technology. So it is almost impossible for them to recognize the implications of the technology if they can't even recognize the actual essential value of the technology.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
So that's why you gotta be really careful with it, But again, if you have found your own values in your life and continuous examinations, I mean, you're gonna be fine.
Absolutely.
Just don't be exploited. Don't be a slave to it. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, take control of your life.
Yes, it sounds really simple, but it just involves a lot more than just thinking about it. It requires legit actions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know we probably sound like a broken record because it seems like every episode we mention this, but it's because it's very important for us.
Yes.
And it applies to everything. That's why it applies to fitness, applies to relationships, dating, technology. We're always going to want to be examining and trying to pull depth out of these topics, out of these conversations, and hopefully have you think about things in a different way. Because I know every time we have a conversation, it seems our back and forth, we end up pulling out something deeper, something we didn't realize initially.
Yeah.
And then you have that waha moment, like, wow, that realization, the light bulb comes on, and it makes sense, and there's clarity. And once you have that clarity, it's easier to head in a direction in your life, to know which path you want to be on.
Right.
And that's, aren't we all looking for a path that's we're willing to traverse, that's worth it? The path of heart that we mentioned on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to make an analogy to this, that if you don't know the values of your life, if you don't know the meaning of your life, then sort of like you're a piece of puzzle that's being played by someone. But if you do, on the other hand, you're the person who is making the puzzle. I like to think of that way. That is the complete control of your life. Nothing should be vague or guessing. You should be continuously evaluating your life to find or improve your life and meaning. And that's the ultimate way to have full control of your life.
Absolutely.
Autonomy, right? I mean, there's autonomy is, I don't know if you use that exact term, but independence was one of the main characteristics of master morality, characterized by Nietzsche, right? That's what you should have instead of the other side, which is slave morality, characterized by exactly opposite of that of master morality, sympathy, kindness, mediocrity, right? He calls it herd
mentality, right?
Yes, yeah. So you should be you should be out of that, realm.
Ideally, you want to avoid it, but it requires, like you were saying, the examination.
Yeah.
A will to power, as
Yes.
Nietzsche called it.
Mm-hmm.
You can exert your will to power upon the world, yourself, and others.
Yeah.
That's to have a master
Mm-hmm.
morality. But tying it right back to technology is that the ideology we have is essentially
Mm-hmm.
the program we're running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our bodies and the physiological state we live in, like being humans,
Yeah.
we're the operating system, right? We're the hardware. The software is going to be our ideals, our values, our beliefs. So we might be running a program that was designed by somebody else entirely. More times than not, if you're born and you've never thought about any of this stuff, you're 100% running a program that somebody loaded upon you.
Yeah.
That program is the culture you live in, the historical context, the time period.
Languages.
Yes.
And all that.
So you are a computer running another program that you didn't create.
Yeah.
But good news, guys, you can create it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can debug it. You can make it as robust. And look, I'm not saying it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that shit's going to crash a lot.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
And you're going to have to reload it. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to get the kinks all working. But eventually, you'll have some level of normalcy and a way to navigate life. And you'll have so much more appreciation for your life because you chose it.
Mm-hmm.
And things will be much more clear. You'll have a clarity that's just different than other people that aren't running on that program that you have, that operating system. And when you meet other people that you see that have, oh yeah, man, they came up with that program. They've figured it out. They've chosen it. You're going to have such a deep bond and kinship with that person because you guys have gone through the same thing. Even if you arrived at different values, it is very hard to build that program up. It is very hard to examine what is going wrong, what is going right, and to arrive to that conclusion. And it can make all the difference. Personally, I think.
Yeah.
It can put you onto a different path. We've done the work. We continue to do the work. It's a never-ending thing. But that's why we are right here, right now, doing a podcast. Is because we realized we had a lot of things that we believed and adapted to that we actually didn't make the choice to. We just took on, like camels, like Nietzsche would said, all these burdens, and we just wore them. So now we're finally in the stages of building it up and changing it. And this is like one line of code in the software that we're running.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah?
Yeah. We're in the Matrix.
Are you proud of yourself?
We're all in the Matrix. Go see the Matrix.
That was your message.
December 17th. No. Just like one long advertisement. We're sponsored by Warner Brothers.
Look at the games right there. Crazy.
We're sick.
Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot more things to talk about when it comes to technology, but I think, we've talked about a few important things today. So I think, maybe we can make a subcategory of what we talked about today under technology. Maybe our industry, full episode, maybe. If you guys have any suggestions, let us know.
Or if you're interested in knowing more about semiconductor, if you want to hear it from people that were in the industry. I mean, we don't really want to talk about it, but if that's what you want to hear, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, just let us know. We can definitely talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wraps up this episode. We're going to go.
Are we going to play a game after this?
No games.
Okay.
No games.
Yeah.
Okay,
just
guys.
left 2 games. Okay. I'm just kidding. Play games. Have fun.
Have fun.
Bye.
See ya.
That's this week's episode of the Theory of the Living podcast. Thank you for listening with us. We're Cody and Kai. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode.
And if you'd like to help support us, we have a Patreon page where you can subscribe for exclusive content.
Also, please share with others who you think may find value in our discussion.
Leave a rating, a review, and please subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube.
Thank you again.
See you later.